もちもち食感ぬるぬるエイム、どうもタピです。というわけで今回は、シーズン5のショットガン、どれが一番強いかというテーマの動画を和訳していきます。かなり詳しく解説されているのでぜひ見ていってくださいね。動画の前に一つお願いです。僕の動画を見てくれている人の多くが未登録です。このチャンネルではこのような和訳動画、解説系動画、ゆっくり実況などを投稿しています。まだしていない人はチャンネル登録してくれると嬉しいです。あと高評価と Twitter、タピ YouTube のフォロー、クリエイターサポート TAPI もしてくれたら嬉しいです。というわけで本編です。どうぞ。
Welcome back everybody, Destiny Jesus here, and I've had a lot of questions in my comments and just Twitter DMs and stuff, and people asking what shotgun is meta, whether it's the charge versus the attack, or in my opinion what it could be is the Dragon's Breath depending on your playstyle. I'm going to in this video break down what I think the strengths and advantages of different guns, as well as the drawbacks, what playstyle you have to adapt, as well as some tips and tricks that you can do to improve your aim with all of the different shotguns, and also just get more kills more consistently, and improve your playstyle to work around the different guns, and figure out which one is going to be perfect for you. So the Dragon's Breath also got a buff. It got a 13% damage increase. That means that the gold one can one pump with a 200, and the purple one can hit for 190 to the head as well. The one thing with the Dragon's Breath is the reload is extremely long, and you need a swap weapon at all times with it, and it's only really workable within like kind of a 1 to 1.5 tile radius. So you can see here, basically one tile away from each other, I aim point blank towards the body, and I will still hit for an insane amount of damage. The real drop-off comes when you come about 2 tiles away from each other. Now at this point, it really doesn't do too much damage, and you're much better off just using an AR or an SMG because of that reload time. When it comes to using the Dragon's Breath in-game, you need to make sure that you alter your playstyle to just try to commit into the box or play an extremely close angle where you then can swap to an SMG and your opponent won't be able to outbuild you. So let's say like this, and I'm just playing this smart long range angle, even an angle above like this, and going for the replace. It's too far away from somebody to get like a significant amount of damage off. If they're a little bit closer, maybe you'll hit a higher shot, but most of the time you're going to be playing an extremely close angle like this, playing around for them to edit on you. So my opponent edits on me here, I can just run into the box and hit a big shot and then commit to an SMG. And there's no gun in the game that will let the opponent get more damage off on you than you'll get on them unless you miss your shot. Especially if somebody's got a charge, if they open an edit on you and they're just trying to charge up a shot, you'll run in the box, hit them for 150 and then SMG stop and kill them instantly. Another quick tip is whenever you're box fighting somebody, also just make sure you set up in metal and rebox in metal, just so you don't set fire to yourself. It's pretty annoying if you just start getting damage, but the damage effect is pretty nice because you will set fire to them in wood and in brick in game, and it will damage them as well. The real way the Dragon's Breath excels in game is basically using it to counter your opponent boxing up and also get free shots on them. Because of the fire it counters you from editing out, it just won't let you edit out. So whenever you set up, make sure you set up in metal or set up even closer to the wall. And then let's say here I go for the wall take and I miss my shot for whatever reason, obviously just might be bad aim. At this point, their entire box will set on fire and they won't really be able to edit out. You see here, my opponent won't be able to edit out. Then I can come from the side and go for a shot on him, something like that. It's a very unique strategy, and obviously the fire spreads pretty quickly, as you can see here. It spreads outwards and it doesn't really stop until it hits like a very far radius. And most of the time, it will break down an entire house. It's also very good for getting people out of a house, or if they're just hiding or turtling up. You can just shoot the house and try getting it set on fire. Easiest way to do this is just placing a floor or something and then shooting it. You see there, it will catch fire to the floor. Now the house will ignite and everything will burn down. And at this point, you can just rout out somebody who's hiding. A couple tips when it comes to using a Dragon's Breath and getting better with it in game is make sure that you're not playing too long range of an angle like this where you're kind of expecting your opponent to peek on you. You never want your opponent to be peeking on you just because you won't have that advantage, or you're going to be close enough to do a massive amount of damage and then swap to your swap weapon. Normally you want to play a much tighter angle like this, so if you were to get the wall, you can jump up and hit a massive damage shot and then reset, and then you have control of the fight or something similar to that. So this is pretty much the easiest way to upgrade. Whenever you land at a POI, just try looking out for these vaults. They've got set spawns. You go and grab it and you get 100 gold. I think the max you can get is 120. And then from here you just need to find whoever's landing at your POI, the actual boss. So I speak to Condor here, and here I can either buy a Dragon's Breath shotgun, which is obviously pretty viable, or if I go around and get some more gold, I can upgrade to a purple pump or purple tag. So easiest way of getting gold, if you just need a couple bit of extras, is just to break all like the bits of furniture around the buildings. Bit more gold, there we go. So that should be enough to just break a bunch of containers and things around on top of the vault. Now I should be able to upgrade, and that's basically the easiest way to upgrade. You just need to make sure you look out for those little safes that are around in different POIs. There's a couple in Misty, a couple in Sweaty, and basically all the major POIs. Just make sure you look out for them, or you can just complete 2 bounties in the same game. Another way of getting a guaranteed Dragon's Breath is coming up here to the north steamy houses where Blaze spawns. She can also spawn over at this island, so just check there, she's not up here. So basically what we're going to go ahead and do is go talk to her. Obviously you can accept a bounty off her first, which is always really useful. Tells you the nearest players, and then you can duel her. And the nice thing about this is it pushes you back, there's a little explosion, and then you can just shoot it from a long distance. Dragon's Breath's really not effective at this range, so you can just go ahead and fill up free, get the Dragon's Breath, and now you're chilling and you can W key. So the charged shotgun just got buffed today. It basically got an extra shell added to all rarities, so the blue and green got an extra up to 4 shells, and the purple and gold got added up to 5 shells. Makes it a lot more workable, and you can use it a lot more offensively in that fashion because you don't run out of bullets as quickly. Also got a reload increase. It's a lot easier to just reload a shell real quick whenever you're in the box, and also that helps with your movement whenever you're moving around and acting aggressively. You can reload a lot quicker. Another small change is a 5% damage increase. This means that the max headshot of the charge is now 209. The blue one used to be just 200, I'm pretty sure, and that also means that the quick shot to the body is now 93 rather than the old damage variant. And max body shot damage 139 as well. A couple things with the charge: whenever it comes to actually box fighting, you never want to play offensively, mainly because you'll be put at a disadvantage compared to someone who's playing on the defense. This is just because you always have that innate disadvantage where somebody in the box can charge up their shotgun, or they can jump out at you to attack, and you're kind of stuck there going for a quick shot. However, on that note, what you should be doing for quick shots, a couple of people don't really recommend this, but I still think it's kind of the king in terms of getting a quick shot off. It's just double clicking. Really just don't overcomplicate it and try to hold down and then get the timing down where you can go for a shot off. Just double click your mouse as quick as possible and you'll get a shot off much quicker and more consistent, rather than having to rely on holding and then letting go with a certain amount of time, which obviously can have some delay there, and it's likely to leave you to missing your shot as well. Also, when it comes to using a charge, you need to make sure that you're playing longer range angles, ideally with a centerpiece in your box that you can peek around of, whether that's on a stair like this and doing some kind of variant of peek like that, whether that's cross spots peeking across 2 boxes like this on somebody, just like that, or whether it's even peeking behind a cone and using that for a right peek on your opponent, popping out and then going for a timing shot where you can charge before. You never just want to be going for a counter peek where you have to jump up quickly and shoot, because that means the person who can hold the angle on you will have an advantage. You'd rather set yourself up in a position where you can open and edit maybe, and then right hand peek into them while you charge and while you strafe. So again, what they're like, let's say for a pretty standard like click speak or just top right peanut butter edit, what you want to make sure that you do is, rather than doing this and jumping up and shooting, you want to instead edit like that, charge, and then go for a shot at the very top of your wall. If they commit into your box at this point, you can just flick over and go for a shot. You'd rather go for a shot like that, or instead what you can go for is go for a floor placement, charge, and then shoot just like that to catch them off. So the tank got a damage nerf compared to previous seasons where it was in, like in season 3, but it still hasn't been changed at all since the start of this season. So that's pretty much just means a 120 headshot and an 80 body shot. It means you can 2-tack if you hit all your pellets to the blue tack at close range, but most of the time you're just going to go for 3 tacks, basically just going for all body shots and trying to kill somebody that way. So the biggest mistake I see this season when it comes to shotgun meta and the shotgun fights is the fact that people aren't realizing what their opponent is using and also aren't playing to their own advantage like that. Let's say you're using a tack versus someone who's using a charge. You don't want to give them these long angles. You ideally want to place extremely close to the wall and also play around a right and peek where you can't just get traded heavily and you always have something to fall back on. Like, let's say here the guy starts charging. I don't really just want to come in for a wall take because at this point I can't really edit on him right at all. You want to make sure that you're playing a lot closer to the wall, getting in your opponent's face, and you always have that possibility where you can get in their box and go for 50-50 once you have that HP advantage. Never commit in with attack unless you can 2-tack them with body shots cleanly. You never want to get into a situation where you're going to exploit into somebody's box and try to close the fight out quickly when you have to hit more than 2 shots. So let's say here I jump in, he can easily just charge up a shot, and at this point I have to hit 3 shots in a row and there's a very high probability of you losing that fight. This is a really nice crosshair placement trick I learned from Resub in his most recent video. I'll leave a link in the description, and it's basically where you want to put your crosshair when it comes to getting the maximum amount of damage with your tack. You don't want to aim actually at the head level, mainly because the tack pellet spread is so wide that you won't do as much damage as possible. So here, if I was to shoot with the head directly with my center of my crosshair on his head, it will only do 88. What you want to do instead is aim towards the neck, kind of lower jaw into collarbone area. At this point, it will do 104, just because the pellets are going into his head as well as the extra pellets that normally would miss are going to his upper body and into his shoulders. So this is probably going to be the best way, in my opinion, to work on your aim and just get used to using the new shotguns and just getting better at aim drilling with them. This is probably the best map to do it, just because it's enclosed and also you can work on multiple things at the same time, playing offensively, defensively, rather than just box fighting straight up, or rather than just having to aim duel where you're not involved in building or editing, which is obviously quite an important part of the game. So up front here we've got the TAC AR, the AK and the pistol, Dragon's Breath, charge, and also the attack. Spawn with attack normally as well. And then the P90, the regular blue SMG, which is super good with the Dragon's Breath, and then also the blue Psalm SMG. So then what you can do from here is go ahead and grab any of these HP options. I'd recommend just starting on 1000 or 2000. Walking in here, and there's a whole lot of different things in here. I'd let you guys just check out this map code and go through and work through everything. You just need somebody to do it with you, and it is super fun, mainly because it is slightly competitive and just trying to beat your opponent or your teammate at the same time. So we're going to go ahead and box out just the default guns, which are the blue tack and the blue AR. So in here you can work on practically any loadout that you want to use when it comes to box sighting in games. So we've got this jumbo one, you can use the Dragon's Breath and the SMG as well, which is normally what we're going to be using with it. Obviously if you're both using a Dragon's Breath, it's going to be a little bit different playstyle, and also has the instant reload as well in this map, just so you can keep on aim drilling for longer. So charge, tack AR, 1000 HP in a different map, just slightly smaller. So all the map sizes are just vary depending on what you kind of want to work on. So based off everything we've already covered in the video and the strategies you can be using with each shotgun, this is what I'm going to recommend for you based on your playstyle and what shotgun you should be using to have the most success in game. So the charge really isn't that viable if you're a high ping player. It can only really work if you fit a very specific niche where you're a defensive box fighter and you're very confident at W King, where you can hit a single shot and then carry on counter playing somebody. Obviously with that extra buff that it got yesterday, with the extra shell and the faster reload speed and a little bit of 5% damage increase, it is pretty viable at the moment, and it's definitely pretty strong. The tack is pretty much going to be the go-to for this whole season, especially if you can do that gold trick and upgrade it to a purple tack. It'll be really, really good in game the majority of the time. You really shouldn't be overcomplicating it, and if you are going to be just jumping in somebody's box, make sure you get that HP advantage, and you'll have a lot more success with attack, mainly because it's so simple. You can just try attack on any other gun, and it's going to be standard. Last season, back when the tack was worse and the charge and tack were in the solo meta at the same time, every single top tier pro was running attack. You need to be running attack just because it's so much more consistent, especially in laggy lobbies. When it comes to the Dragon's Breath, obviously it's very hard to find, and there's a couple unique spots around the map that you can find it, but if you want to try playing out of it, I'd recommend landing at those spots, and you could definitely find that this is your gun. The buff it got with the range and also the damage increase is absolutely insane, and I highly recommend you just trying it out and feeling whether you like it or not. Obviously getting used to the fire mechanic is quite unique, and you just need to get in the habit of practicing with it as well.
はい、というわけでいかがでしたでしょうか。和訳する動画が10分を超えるとかなり長くて辛かったです。まあでもその分を役に立てたら嬉しいです。ぜひ高評価とチャンネル登録、Twitter、タピ YouTube のフォローをしてくださったら嬉しいです。というわけでまた次回の動画でお会いしましょう。さよなら。